My biggest takeaway podcast.
Welcome back to the episode. My biggest takeaway. I have Mason and Audrey here today. If you guys haven't heard of these two, they are really big inside the fitness space, making a really big splash. Just released a new book as well, which I want to talk about today as well. But thank you guys so much for coming on.
Amazing. Thanks for having us, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to be here.
How did you guys get started?
Great question. So do you want to take that or do you want me to take that one? I'll jump into it. So we got started. I mean, we actually met each other little over 3 years ago, October 2020. Going into October 2020, I had no idea who Audrey was. She had no idea who I was. Long story short, we met at a bodybuilding show here in Houston, Texas. Started chatting back and forth. Our relationship started to progress. We wrapped up 2020, moved out to Houston early 2021. Didn't move in together. We had a lot of friends down here. So we just needed to be in the same city because I was from Chicago. She was from Tampa. So we were long distance for the first few months. But even into 2021, individually, she was working as an assistant coach under a separate team or an organization. I was running my own gig. So we pretty much went the entire year of 2021 doing separate things. I was running my own business, hiring, various business mentors at the time to try and learn and educate myself as much as possible, where she was still doing her own thing, but she knew at some point she wanted to branch out and do something of her own and create her own business. But it was never really a topic of should we jump into business together, because we had at that point been dating for maybe a year. But I think it's one of those things, once you know kind of deal where everything can kind of click with the person that you're with. And it was very unique for us to kind of get to that decision at the end of 2021, which was like, okay, let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we kind of progressed through the end of 2021. We were actually at an event where my business coach had put on an event, and I was like, Audrey, come along with me. Why not? So she had no intention that we were going to leave that event in the decision that we would make of let's go into business together.
Yeah.
So that happened 2021 December, which was barely 14 months after we even knew who each other were. And kind of that's how things originally started. I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Yeah, what's funny is when I went into that event, I knew, okay, I'm bringing in more leads than my own coach was for me. And yet I'm taking half of the profit. Why am I an assistant coach? So when I went to this event, although I didn't have any intention of leaving within that same week and branching off on my own, when I was sitting next to him at this event, I walked up at the end of the speech. That was basically a pitch, and I didn't understand or know it at the time. I was like, wow, that was very compelling. And I walked up and I said, I don't have enough money that I know you're going to ask of me, but I am very open to, figuring it out and getting started because I've seen Mason have a lot of success. And he was like, why don't you guys just go in on it together? You guys would be super successful together. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do it. And then I quit on the plane on the way home or left, should I say. And we went off on our own.
Yeah. And it was, I would say unless someone was going to nudge us in that direction, we probably wouldn't have started a business together at that very moment. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, we trust the coach, and he's like, you guys should. And we're like, well, we're smart. We know we can do this, and we know we can do it right. So why not? And that's what kind of blossomed at the time, started Team Athlete Mentality there in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of fast forward through 2022. I guess just to we started the two of us in 2022 at the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, I think we finished with 9 employees at the time.
Yeah.
So we kind of surprised ourselves. We went from 0 to $1 million generated in revenue in 13 months or so, which was nuts. I think I started the year of 2022 and I was like, Audrey, if we make like 500 grand, that would be crazy. And then boom, like we finished the year, came into January, crossed the 7-figure mark just in terms of how much we've generated as a unit. And I think it kind of knocked our socks off. We were a little bit in disbelief because I know typically with other businesses I've seen and whatnot, it can take some time to get there, but I think we've just built up so much momentum behind us where there was so many years of work we put in leading up into that point to when we came together.
Yep.
Everything just started to really kind of work and churn from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember. So I was at it's a coaching con last year, and saw you guys on stage get your reward, and I thought that was pretty cool. And it's funny because I've built a relationship with everybody that walks across the stage.
Yeah.
Right. And so obviously, you know that we work with Jared and Kevin and Stephanie and whatnot, but it's just funny to see these people that I'm like, man, like they're doing really well. And that's also like the nature of the event as a whole. And I think it's awesome. I've got to speak on stage and you guys got to do so as well. Was that your first speaking gig?
Ever. That was the first time I've walked up and spoke in front of people in kind of a setting like that since communication class in college when I was like 19 and a half years old.
Right.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? What was your biggest takeaway from stepping on that stage in front of 600 people?
Oh my gosh.
I think the biggest thing is when you first get asked to do something like that. I remember we were sitting at dinner and we both looked at each other, and before you even get the chance to feel the fear that is inevitably going to be there, you just say yes. Because
of course, can't pass on the opportunity. Look at these two entrepreneurs. No way I'm going to pass that up.
Absolutely. So I think it's understanding that there's definitely going to be some fear involved, especially because, like he said, the last speaking engagement that we did was in a college setting. So I knew that we were going to be scared. I knew that there was going to be some fear involved, but I also knew that it's a cool stepping stone into what we want to do in the future. So we just kind of went for it. But absolutely, we were scared. I don't know if I can post, but
I was. Gosh, I mean, we were prepared, which I think helped going into that type of engagement, or standing up in front of like 30 people is like one thing. Standing up in front of like 600-700 is like, holy shit, like it's a lot of eyeballs on you at one time. So I mean, full transparency, like a half hour before walking up on stage, I was like almost to the point where I was feeling nauseous. So like, I'm like, am I about to like get sick right now? This is so weird. But no, it was cool. I think it was such a unique experience because leading up into kind of big things like that, to any caliber, if you've never done them or haven't done them in a while, it seems so scary and daunting. But I think once we got up there, we got about 1 minute and 30 seconds into our presentation, then the cobwebs started coming off and it was just like more free flowing, and it was fun. And it's like we finished up with that and we're like, damn, okay. Like when could we do another one like that? Or when could something else, happen in that kind of fashion?
Yeah. So I've done some events where I've spoken at, and I would say it'd be more of a smaller setting, let's say 50, 60 people. And I'm curious, my stage time's coming. That's my confidence. But for the bigger stage, right? And I do plan on hosting my own event, but at the same time, I'm curious which one has more nerves. The fact that I'm 5 foot from somebody, or that it's, a massive room amount of people, because I can tell you, like, for myself, I'm the person that like gets the shakes. So like my foot's on stage, just tapping, and I'm like, stop shaking. And because for me, like as an ex bodybuilder, I always make a joke, I'm double retired, done 13 shows, and it's like when I'm on stage in my underwear trying to find the smallest pair of trunks to show the most of my ass possible.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I ain't gotta open my mouth though, so I'm confident I'm good.
Yeah.
Which is like so strange to think, right? Or you think about people that are massive, wealthy, successful businesses can perform on a basketball court like lights out, and hundreds of thousands of people, and then you give them a microphone and there's like
right. Yeah.
So I thought you guys did an amazing job. You would have fooled me saying that was your first time. So
yeah,
I also think though is when we got 2 people, I'm like, let's pass the buck to the next person, like take this off me, and then we'll pick it back up.
Yeah, so it's funny. I had a speaking engagement just in October, and it was with I think 80 or so women, maybe a little bit more. And the idea of that in a bright room, I was on a stage and there was a presentation, but the presentation was to either side of me. So I knew most people were kind of going to be looking at me. And it was a lot of natural light coming in, and it was just me speaking up there. So that gave me a lot more nerves than speaking with Mason in front of 750 people. But I also think that when you can't see them as much, I remember looking out on that big stage with 750 people in front of me, and I could maybe see a couple faces. One, because you're so nervous, you're not thinking about it. But the other reason is because you're being blinded by these lights. And I actually think that was a lot more helpful.
It was easier.
A lot easier than when I spoke in front of 80 people in a bright room where everybody could see me very clearly.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I can see the color of your eyes. You're so close.
Yeah. That arguably that type of more intimate settings would set me off. Like, and I always tell this to people that like don't know me, because people wouldn't know this unless I told them. But I come from a background where I have a lot of like social anxiety. So like when I had done, presentations or intimate speeches, there'd be some occasions where I'd be okay getting through them. Other occasions I'd be like sweating my ass, like sweat coming down my face, like dripping almost. So like I have like that kind of built up inside me, and kind of that's happened in the past with me. So I will say, not being able to see the audience and having it a little bit more dimly lit kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to go out there, where like if I saw everybody's eyeballs, their facial expressions, it probably set me off a little bit more. So definitely a little bit easier.
Yeah.
All right. So I got to ask this question too, because I've started businesses with significant other. So I started Coffee Over Cardio. I don't even know if you guys are even familiar with that brand or heard of that.
Yeah, I used to get some stuff sent to me. I actually really enjoyed it.
That's right. I remember that. I wasn't really on the front end facing on that. I was more of the business person on the back end, which does bring me to my next question. Who's the business person in this duo?
So I would say we both have a good level of business in us. I probably brought that in the beginning, where Audrey kind of came from not really too much exposure to that, because she had been an assistant coach. She wasn't really in the weeds with like understanding that side of things. So I initially kind of introduced her to that in terms of, this is how we have to sell. This is how we have to engage in conversations to convert more, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually she started to catch on. But I will say now we have very defined roles within our business, where I still kind of take the lead where around kind of sales, marketing, that direction. She's very, very much so still involved in that, because she's very skilled at creating content and that kind of thing. But whenever we're kind of running frameworks or offers or pitches and stuff like that, I'll handle that. That's typically my forte. From her side though, I will say she is the best like person that I've ever met at managing people. So the entire 2 years now that we've been in business, we have not had a single employee leave us outside of those that we fired. So she's just amazing at being able to like make people feel valued on the team. Then again, we take care of our employees really well. We pay them well for the work that they do. But that's her like bread and butter, is just being able to make sure team and people are taken care of. And I will say, I could do that. Am I the best at that? Absolutely not.
Sure. Yeah, we're staying in our lanes, focusing on our strengths.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really struggled in the beginning, because I came from a background of really enjoying the educational side of things. I got my master's because I was just nerding out over research around fat loss. And that's just like where I gravitate towards. So it wasn't around, how do I make this sound enticing? How do I get the person to buy? It was like, oh, I'm just going to give them information and assume that they like all the nerdy stuff that I do. And, it worked out for the most part, but I was definitely capped at what I could bring in, I guess, from a lead perspective, just because I didn't have that background. And when I came and joined with him, it was like, oh, we do this offer, we have this framework, you got to word it in this way. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is a whole different avenue that I never even tapped into. And it was a little intimidating, because we joined together and he's like, all right, not only did you just leave 65 clients, but now we're going to launch this big offer and you got to take a sales call tomorrow. You just got to figure it out. And I never, ever had taken a true sales call. And it was Zoom too, by the way. Like he just threw me in.
That's the way to do it. Their own little world.
So I had to sink or swim, and obviously I swam a good bit, but yeah, it was tough. Luckily, it was easier because I feel like I'm fairly good in just conversation, but I've learned along the way there's more of a tactic behind sales, obviously, than just conversating.
Oh yeah.
So my follow-up question to that is, who's the better coach?
Coach.
I mean, I would say Audrey for sure.
You think that's simply based off the fact that she said she has a master's and she's better at managing relationships with people?
Yes, 100%. Obviously, we're both skilled and good at what we do, but
Yeah.
I would say like Audrey's just more natural, has that ability of a coach. She's also just loves to learn and continue to further her education, which is why she manages everything with the team, making sure everyone's learning more. We're buying education for our coaches, so they're keeping up to date with everything. Or if we need to learn new things, she's always on top of it. So, yeah, I would 100% say from a coach perspective, that's Audrey all day.
Yeah, I don't know though, but at the same time, I feel like you're very good with, I don't know, being able to just kind of keep things a little bit more straightforward and not really beat around the bush or make things too complicated in a sense. It's just like just doing this. So I think there's strengths and weaknesses there. But
For sure.
I think you guys just literally just described the difference between feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
All right, random question for you. Probably never been asked this, but what is the number one thing, the biggest takeaway that a client has taught you?
It's funny because we actually don't coach much anymore at all. I think we each probably have about between 5 and 10 active clients. I feel so far removed almost from that like intimate coach to client relationship. Is there anything that comes top of mind to you?
Yeah, it's coming to me. I would say that a client has taught me biggest takeaway. I would say kind of biggest takeaway is, and I think we've learned this through the years, is the relationship with your client is the most important thing. But not in a relationship where like you're super buddy and you're super friendly. There's a good mixture of that in there so they feel safe and comfortable to share with you. But a nurturing relationship with the client is what's going to allow them to stay with you longer. So the more you're able to nurture the relationship and create a good connection, like honestly, regardless if somebody loses 30 pounds or they completely stay the same, if you have that good relationship, they're going to want to stay. So I think that's probably been the biggest takeaway we learn, and we're continuously learning with like our coaches. Okay, who's re-signing on whose roster, and why didn't they re-sign? It's just, it really does come down to that connection piece and making sure that relationship is nurtured outside of just like check-ins and these are the updates, this is what you have to do. So really it's just being able to be a people person, honestly, and being able to like show somebody that you care and show somebody that like you're there for them, but also they feel comfortable to share those intimate things with you.
Yeah. And I think, from more of like a tactical, I guess, or a little bit outside of that, it's not necessarily that one client has taught me one specific thing that I can think of right now. At least I'm sure they all have little lessons that I've taken away from them. But overall, I think the reason why we ended up going from, just fat loss coaches who talk about reverse dieting and metabolism to more internal health, hormone related, that's a big part of our niche, was just that we had a lot of clients who weren't necessarily seeing those picture perfect results or the black and white. Okay, we put them in a deficit and now they look great. And so a lot of these women were so overly stressed and they've been dieting for years. And, that's when we started to have a better understanding of internal health. So I feel like as a collection, a lot of these women taught me that there's a lot more, especially to a woman's health, than just pull down their calories and put them on a treadmill or Stairmaster. So I would say that was kind of a big takeaway, and that has really allowed us to branch off and niche down a little bit more and kind of be in this market space that I think has been very successful for us and a lot more fulfilling for us.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So there's something you guys said, because I'm a business guy. You guys are open. Let's talk some business.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, we're coming down to the end of 23. What are our projections to finish out the year at?
Yeah, in terms of revenue, all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I would say total clients, total amount of coaches, revenue, what you guys have been able to develop and build, and how many people you've been able to impact.
Yep. So as of today, we've acquired 183 new clients. We've re-signed because we literally just ran these numbers because we've been plugging into like projecting and forecasting.
I was like, my man is on it.
Yeah, you're like pulling this out of my head. So we've re-signed, I think, 34 as of last year, or as of this year up until this point. In terms of new team members, we have 4 total coaches. We have a clients, an admin who's basically runs everything on the back end, other communication channels. We have a client success manager, a community success manager within our Facebook group. We have 3 VAs, and then we just hired on a sales staff, 2 enrollment coordinators as of August. So the back half of this year from like September on has like taken a little bit of a dip down in revenue wise. My thoughts on that.
Yeah.
A little dip down in revenue wise, just because we've been training our sales team, getting them up to par, figuring out things with like obviously handoffs from us to an enrollment team and cancellations and shit coming through. So I think as of today, revenue wise, we're sitting at, I think, right around 800,000, which was pretty good for us because this year wasn't really about generating revenue. The biggest things that we took away from this year is we have fine tuned our entire back end systems, the way our team communicates internally, the way we've reforecasted and built out our client journey. So our clients can get better results and we're more on top if like clients ghost and fall off. So we have like went balls to the walls on that. And I mean, granted, we were trying to push revenue this year, but at certain aspects, that was kind of more the focus and building out that team and then understanding obviously, okay, so now we're bringing on a sales team. And as much as like we want our time back, obviously we want to keep the revenue high, but knowing that was going to take a hit and that was going to be some growing.
Take a step back to jump forward. Totally get it.
Exactly.
I've done that too many times.
Yeah. We had in 2021 when we had first started, it was one of those things where, and we talked about this on our speech on the NCI stage at Coaching Con, we created the business together and boom, 50,000. The next month, 80,000, then 100,000. Then we had reached, I think, 140,000 at our peak. And then just towards the back half and towards October through December were just lower income months or lower revenue months in 2021. And we were honestly really mentally affected by it just because, was it? Yes, 2022, not 2021. Very affected by it mentally because it was like, oh, wow, look at us, we're climbing, and then putting our worth in this number that we were generating. And when that kind of took a hit, we're like, okay, well, now this is a sign for us to stop getting so caught up in like the rat race of, okay, $0 at the start of the month. How much can we get to this month? And tying our worth in that. And also looking at, okay, again, how's our team right now? How are our current clients? Like we're focused so much on the new clients, but our renewals eventually took a hit. And so that was a big focus for us. And I think this year was really amazing in so many ways because now that is so sturdy and we fired people that needed to be fired months ago and we've got a great team now. So it's exciting because, now we can start to focus again a little bit more on generating revenue in 2024. And that's going to be a big focus of ours that we're already working.
I think you guys said something I can really resonate with. So I'll give you a great example. So my coffee company, 2019, we did like 319,000. 2020, we did 3.5. Pretty significant jump. And then you tie so much worth into the scale and you try to figure out everything as you go. And it's like, make the money. And then, we'll figure out how to ship these packages. Like, don't worry about it. We'll just stay later, work harder. Right. And then you get to where like we're shipping 10,000 packages a month. And it's like, this is fucking chaos. Like, this is miserable. But at the same time, like you get to where as any business owner does is you see success, it drives that freaking dopamine and you want to keep pushing. Oftentimes we run ourselves into the ground or to a breaking point, or we start to over leverage ourselves. We have too many employees as it starts to backslide. And Now we have more stress than ever. And like, God, I just wish I had go back to the simple days, the good old days, right? Right. Talk about people's like, man, you remember high school?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I totally relate on those aspects. And I think I've taken a lot of the experiences I had since I exited that company 3 months ago. Is like now I've been working on AR in the agency that I have. It's like I fired so many clients in the agency. I was
Mhm.
like, let's just dwindle this thing all the way down. Let's get back to like some synergy. Let's get back to enjoying what we do for a living.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Um,
That was a
and
big.
now I'm focused on one thing and trying to do it really freaking good versus trying to be so spread. And it
Mm,
sounds like that's what you guys are focused on is like, we want to get back to like, you know, not that I'm not delivering the best product possible, but I want to go above and beyond delivering the best product possible to ensure that, yeah, we have a percentage, let's say it's 1% that just doesn't hit it, but like, that's great. But I want zero.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
want zero mistakes made. I want zero balls dropped. I want
Mhm.
100% satisfaction. I want even those that didn't follow the plan said they did everything they freaking could to ensure that I'm doing like it's there, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I do commend that for taking a step back to take the step forward. We're kind of in that place now because, with our business, we work with essentially two types of coaches, right? So I have coaches doing less than 10K and those doing over 10K. Well,
Yeah.
obviously, if you guys know, there's two completely different people,
Yeah.
two
Mhm.
Oh,
completely different businesses. And we do get a lot of influx of those that are looking to begin because obviously there's more people that are making less than 10 than more than 10 a month, right? And so from the volume on the lower side, like I just can't fulfill it the need at which it needs to be fulfilled.
Mhm.
So I'm like, so do I just stop selling? And my business mind's like, what? You want me to do what?
Right.
But that's just where it's at. Like we've got to go back. We got to regroup. We got to change the offer. We got to restructure what it is we're doing
Yeah.
to continue to have the best service possible before I get to the point of, oh shit, we're in a hole and I can't dig myself out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like foreseeing those things, but you got to go through it to get to it. You've now you're going through that. You've had to go through it to make those adjustments so that now we understand these KPIs a little bit better. We know at this point we need to hire or start the training process so that there's no dip or high stress level, right? That's just basic things that come with running a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think also too, there's a big difference between managing a 7-figure company and a 6-figure company.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we
Absolutely.
talk about run rates, right? So for example, like 83 a month, right? There's a big difference between like 40 and 80 or 100,
Mhm.
right?
More problems.
Right. And so a lot of it is like focusing on the acquisition side, right? So that's two things we focus on, I think, as coaches, and I'm in the coaching space, obviously, is acquisition and retention, right? Which
Yeah.
is the
Yep.
sense where AR come from. On the acquisition side of what you guys do you guys run any paid advertisement?
Not yet. We know it's going to be something we are going to look into next year. This year, we just literally are just starting to kind of refocus on to kind of organic growth with Instagram. And we actually hired somebody to kind of help us with that. So that's going to be a big focus for us heading into next year because we know everything we did this year was like, okay, we have the systems. Now we need to just like stuff it full with numbers and leads and like
Yeah.
get
Yep. Set
the
it up.
calendar full. We have a sales team. We have the time. So that's really the whole focus of next year is like, okay, now we got our shit together on the back end. Now it's like, now let's go berserk and see
Mhm.
how much attention we can get, how much leads we can get through the door, how many calls we can book. So that'll be a big focus for us heading into next year.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think
I was going to say you guys are ads are always fun. Um, don't bite off more than you can chew. That's gonna be my first advice. Make sure you have help along the way.
yeah.
Because we do that for a lot of companies, or used to focus on that for a lot of companies. I try not to dabble in too much now if I can help it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of stress because you're
Right.
spending somebody's money.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think like the big takeaway there was kind of what you mentioned, where not anything different, just better. And I think that's what we really wanted to capitalize off of and really like milk everything that we could out of organic. And I don't feel like we had done that yet. I don't feel like that we had truly reached our potential. And we may not ever feel that way. There's always room for growth organically. but I wanted to at least put forth a little bit more effort. I wanted to make another investment in it before we just decided let's do paid ads, because organic has been doing well for us. And we even said this year, like, we do want to grow in revenue. We do want to grow in numbers as a whole in our client retention and new leads. But even if we did not grow again financially and revenue wise, but we maybe just started getting more leads, or like we improved in some way again. I don't think I would have said this last year, but now seeing how much we've grown without actually growing in revenue, I'm proud of it. And I wouldn't be upset if that happened again, but we grew it in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, not anything new. Just continued to do better with organic.
I want to say something from business owner. There's a few statistics that you guys have broken or are breaking. And it's that 2% of businesses make $1 million.
Wow.
Pat yourself on the back for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Audrey, for you, 2% of women make 6 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 figures.
That's crazy.
I do have a quick story on that, which is it's understandable given that statistic. I was getting my gym bag out of our car. We decided to get a really nice car this year.
I saw it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I was pulling my gym bag out. Mason wasn't with me, which is rare. And there's these 2 guys walking by, and they're looking and they walk past me, and I can hear them kind of whisper to one another like, "Oh, OnlyFans." And I just was like, you know what? I honestly, like, I can't be upset or mad or anything, because what you just said, 2%. And, especially being in the parking lot of Alpha Land, this very big gym.
Influency, yeah.
So I couldn't blame them. But
to be very clear, that was just jealousy.
Right.
Because they shut their Corolla door. All right. Nothing against Corollas, but that's probably what they're driving.
Right. But that was funny. But no, it is crazy, and definitely very fortunate and grateful. And I think we can attribute some of it to luck. We work very hard, but there's got to be a piece of that as well.
Well, I think that luck is nothing more than defined as like the right skill sets put into play at the right opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of opportunities come, like, this is a great one. It's just really bad timing for me.
Yeah.
I give you one, and you're going to make you shit your pants here. Rye Supplements. I'm a co-founder.
Okay.
I had a good percentage of equity in the company. I also started coffee at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I had to pick and choose, and I put my energy on paying my bills, because as an owner, what do we not do? Get paid.
Yeah.
So I didn't get paid for either company, but I still had to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm taking sales calls in between packing boxes, and it's like how your other partners are in a better position to where, like, they don't need an income because they have money.
Right. Yeah.
And I got put in this position where, like, I had to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially I had to make a choice, and I made it, and then they made one for me. But it's like, okay, so now I got a company that did 9 figures 5 years later that I'm no longer part of.
Yeah,
great opportunity, really bad timing.
Damn.
Come to me now. I'm good, right? I got the resources, I got the team, I got the knowledge. Right. I can help. Then, not so much, right? Yeah. But it's just one of those things to where it's like we learn from every opportunity. We can be bitter, or we can be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still really good friends with Nick, the CEO. We actually was in the same town. Warehouses were across from each other before I sold. And he actually helped me sell some of the stuff that I needed to, because they obviously just more and more connections.
Yeah.
But yeah, opportunities are always coming for those that are looking for them. And I think you guys would probably have to been expressed this more now than ever, is when to say no.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you get people knocking your door for affiliates all the time. And even though it's great money, it's not great big picture, right?
Absolutely.
So like my goal with like AR, right, is to exit is in mind. So I'm building the company with exit in mind. What does that mean? Don't do anything for quick cash, because it doesn't help the equity of the company.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. You make an extra few bucks. However, that doesn't help the company tomorrow, just today. And any decisions we make today usually always has a repercussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have also felt that. We're like, well, let's do this because we can make some quick buck. And then it's like, the fulfillment of this is fucking miserable. This was a bad idea for some quick cash.
Yeah. More headaches in the end, for sure.
Yeah. And so you guys have obviously had a mentor pretty much the whole journey, which a lot of people don't do. Right? I didn't. I was an entrepreneur. I mean, for the last 15 years, I had a job for 2.5 of those years. Funny enough, that was at Shreds. I don't know if you guys are even old enough to know what Shreds is, but it was an old supplement company.
Okay.
And I was a 9th employee there, which is essentially how my career started to some degree in the online space. But I didn't hire a mentor until like year 10 or 11 of like trying to make it, because I was like, I got this. I'm not paying somebody that.
Yeah.
And then last week I spent 10 grand for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
like, because now, and for those listening, I don't suggest you go spend 10 grand for 8 hours unless you have a business that you can then take one sentence and turn into 100 grand.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys are now smart enough. You've become the person that it takes to implement an idea and turn it into a business.
Absolutely.
Most people take that idea and go, that's cool. How do I do it? You're past the how do you do it mark. And you're like, that's great. I'm actually going to tweak it though.
Yeah.
Right. Which leads me to the book.
Yep.
So I'm a business person. So I call it a lead magnet.
Yeah.
How has that guys gone for you so far?
So it wasn't necessarily when we were thinking of the idea, and honestly, Jason, our business mentor, was the one that presented the idea to us. He's like, hey, I'm writing a book, and how many people in the fitness space as coaches are writing a book? So I think you guys should do it. I think you do really well with it. And so we went for it. Talk about investments. Not that was like too crazy of an investment, but in general, I mean, yeah, just to quickly like recap that as a whole, we tried to do the math the other day, roughly probably $240,000 between him and I in investments in our business and growing as a coach. A lot of money.
I was going to say for the book.
No. God.
I was like, damn, that's a really good book you guys got.
The book was $25K. So it wasn't too bad, but yeah, when we were crafting up the idea, it was absolutely for a lead magnet or to be a part of a funnel. But honestly, as we got closer to it, we're like, let's just get this book out there as also a form of credibility in a sense as well. And honestly, as we were getting closer to it, we're like, damn, we're just going to be able to say that we're published authors, and bestsellers on Amazon is a really cool thing to have on your resume.
Yeah. So that was really the main play for us. Cause we've sold, like up until now, like over 200 copies right now. And we have multiple links and things and activation points within the book to book calls and have people buy our low ticket products and stuff like that. But to Audrey's point, we just kind of got it out. We didn't do too much marketing around it before. It was just like, here's our book. And just threw it out there. Like,
well, we don't always know how to offer or how to market a new offer, right? We got to learn. We got to go through it. We got to get our feet wet. We got to fail. And then we like, okay, all those things didn't work, but this one did. Let's focus on that.
Yeah. Or have the time and the energy to dedicate. It was already like we were, creating this book, and now we've got the team, and now we're trying to get new leads. And it was just like, I don't even know if I want to spend the time to market this book more, maybe in the future when we create another book potentially. But for now, let's just get it out.
Yeah.
There's so many other moving parts.
I'll give some great advice. It's a great lead magnet for ads.
Yeah, totally. Haven't even thought about that.
Literally. Yeah.
Here's one right here that I bought through an ad, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Right. And so for those that are listening, I'm going to show you essentially how lead magnets work. Lead magnets where we provide education in return for data. And we hope that the education is well worth the value of the $10 to $25 that somebody spent to acquire this book. And you get so much resource out of it. And it's a great template and mindset and understanding. And then the follow up to those things is like great examples. I got a call from them 2 months later. Well, didn't open the book
Yeah.
until the day after I got the call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read it and I'm like, wow, this is a really good book, actually. Like, this is well worth the $20 I spent. Right. And I'm already like taking notes and jotting stuff in it. Right. As a business person, obviously I bought a business book. And just like I do with every book that we open, we actually will get something out of it. But I think, again, that's the difference, is that the more you're in business, the more you can get from resources.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for an idea. I'm looking for a sentence that goes and starts a fire and it becomes wildfire, right?
Yeah.
So creating those different types of lead magnets. For you guys, what has been the number one lead magnet inside your business right now?
I would say, so we have a resource, and typically it gets the most traction because we have probably about 150 new people that join our Facebook group on a weekly basis. They'll drop their email and we'll give them kind of like a metabolic reset PDF is what we call it, or a metabolic reset game plan. So essentially it's just breaking down basic principles of losing fat, improving hormones, so on and so forth.
You said you do that through Facebook?
Through Facebook, yeah. So we have
I love a good Facebook group.
I
You already knew
know.
that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we have a lot of people that'll come through, drop emails, and then we just kind of put them into an email sequence and they'll get it from there. So that's typically our best one. But at the same time, too, we don't really market much lead magnets elsewhere outside of that. But I know that's kind of what we're kind of looking into doing a little bit more of, at least from an Instagram perspective, moving forward as well, too.
We get a lot of our leads from doing different promos that, again, we've learned under our business mentor, which is different challenges, scholarships, webinars. Our webinars lately have been doing very well because as we started to niche down and talk more about hormones, all women are just drawn to the idea of hormones. It's like this, very enticing word right now. So when we do a webinar on hormones and fat loss, it crushes. And in fact, we did a webinar recently that I promoted it on TikTok and had no idea the
capacity in which Zoom can hold.
Yep, that too. Yeah.
That was a problem. But there was over 1,000 people that wanted to be on this webinar. And we were like, holy hell, we got to get like a new license on Zoom. We got to make sure that we've got a good, what's it called on the back end, offer on the back end.
It wasn't the best. Yeah.
No, we didn't do our best. But
hey, but you learn for next time.
Oh, we did. Yeah. Oh, we did.
Absolutely. I mean, we
as we're throwing shit against the wall.
Yes, exactly. And I accidentally learned what worked as far as getting people to sign up for it. I didn't intend that it was that video still is just doing crazy numbers. I think it's almost at 1 million. So it's just, I think webinars, challenges, scholarships are where we get a lot of our leads.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's the stuff that I freaking love, because like selling is like great, but if I don't want to sell to, then it's. But for me, I'm like the business owner that's always like, I'm super creative, right? I love to be creative. I'm terrible at organization, so like I should probably hate me inside of a business in that nature, which is why I have employees that are better at it than me. I'm the guy that's like, ooh, shiny thing, right? And so for me, I think it's awesome to come up with different type of lead magnets, structuring out the business. Now, for myself, something that I love, obviously, is going to be on the SMS side, right? Which takes a little bit more in-depth work. But it's just something we love to do, especially for a lot of your smaller clients too, because most intimate form of communication. You guys are obviously really big on Instagram. I mean, give me an average of how many messages we're getting a day, whether story response, and I already know she's way more than you. So if you want to sit this one out, don't you worry.
So we have VAs in our accounts who are, sending outreach to new followers, going and following new people.
Yep.
And my VA sends out she only does about 40-ish a day of outreach, but the response rate is what we have fine-tuned. It was very low in a period of time, and we cranked down the number of how many she was sending out. We just focused on quality. Now she's great. So I hate touching my DMs. I think it's tedious. I did do it initially, and I was able to. You do have to, and it's not that I was bad at it. I just hated it. It was so tedious. So that was one of the first things that we offloaded, but that's definitely a good lead generation is her starting those conversations. We triage those and I hop on 15-minute discovery calls with them. We'll do it if it's out of his DMs. And then that turns hopefully into a sales call if we think that they're a good lead and they're interested in hearing more.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What is it that you guys want to take away from you?
Ooh, it's a deep one. What do I want to take away from me?
What do you want people to get from you? What do
Mm.
you want to impact the world with? What is the biggest takeaway you want people to get from you?
I think the reason for a lot of our success is just believing so much in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, it's not that we are 100% certain in everything that we do. Of course we're not. But I think even as a kid, and I was lucky and fortunate enough to have parents who basically told me, you can really do anything that you set your mind to. And while we are coaches, obviously, in the fitness space, I think that's such a fraction of what we want to be known for and the impact that we want to make in the world. I think it's just kind of a stepping stone along the way. But I think overall, I have faith that we will be successful in whatever way you define that in our own ways. And I think it's just because we have so much belief in ourselves.
Yeah. And I guess, to piggyback off that and answer your question, what we want people to get from us in that sense is a sense of like being filled up with belief within themselves, empowerment within themselves, and a new knowingness that they can do difficult things and go after things that they want to. Mm-hmm. Obviously both with our clients, but then people who kind of interact with us or have conversations with us, just really kind of them getting that energy that we can give off and telling them and having them feel that if they have something they want to chase and go after, they can make it happen.
It's possible.
Too.
Yeah.
Love it. Where can people find you?
Instagram is probably the best spot. My tag is Mason C. Mahoney, and then Audrey's is
Audrey with 2 Y's, Adams Fit.
Yep. So best spots.
Very cool, guys. So where do you see yourselves going? Obviously, it's been a wild past few years. We've had great success. I followed along. We've taken quite a few trips. We love to travel. We love to rave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's 2024? What is 2024 looking like for you guys?
2024 is, and we've talked about this so much this year. So we ran around like absolute buffoons this year, not in a bad way, but like we traveled a lot. We did a lot of leisure. We were out and about. Next year is like a buckle down year for us. So that's more focus, more intention behind the mission, behind the content we're creating, all that stuff. If we are going to travel, majority of it's going to be to conferences, to network, to meet new people, to make more connections within business and whatever that looks like. Yeah. And really limiting vacation time for us. But if we do vacation, doing it just us. Because we vacation with a lot of friends this year and we'd go in groups and, you'd come back and I'm like, fuck, I need 2 days to get my shit together. I'm so exhausted. So really that's what 2024 is going to look like, is just more focus around business. If we are going to travel, it's going to be more business focused.
Yeah. And I think that piece that we talked about earlier is just the big focus now is on our top of funnel. Before it was back end systems, and now we're going to hammer home on the leads. So that's it.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a pleasure, and it's been awesome to hear a lot of your guys' success, the trials and tribulations that come with that. You guys seem like everything is going the direction you want to. And I think you guys are manifesting that. I think you're obviously putting in the work to make that happen. You're putting the right people and systems in the place to do so. And so again, thank you so much. And I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having us on, Mike. We appreciate it too.
Thank you, Mike.
My biggest takeaway podcast.